Welcome back to Outdoor Exploration. We have been gone for a few weeks and now we're back and it's the beginning of harvest time. So I decided today we would go look at what kind of things both in our garden as well as in the wilderness are going to seed, because I'm noticing them getting ready, many of the seeds. And let's start in my little salad garden, as I call it, where we have all kinds of things. So first of all, the kale here is gone to seed, and this part is perfect for harvesting. I will collect these and get the seeds out of them. I basically just dump them all in a bucket and shuffle it all around until the seeds fall off, and then I pull the chaff off here and end up with a bunch of seeds, which I throw back in my garden. Some of the plants, various plants, but especially kale, are starting to be covered in aphids, which doesn't really bother me as long as they don't become so overgrown that they take over and kill a bunch of stuff. But basically at this time of year, I guess the nights are getting colder and the days are still warm, and so you get this kind of condensation every evening, and the aphids and the ants that are farming the aphids love that. So there they go, and they take over little parts of various things, and I just generally leave them there. I do find that having this big variety of different plants everywhere helps with aphid issues. I don't really have them out of control almost ever. Usually if I do, it's in my nasturtiums and they'll kill, a whole plant. But, it's a small loss, honestly. Besides the kale going to seed, we have the lettuce, which I let go to seed here, some of them. And you can see a lot of the flowers have just closed up and they're not ready, but some of them are starting to go to seed, and you get these little dandelion-like seed heads, which I will harvest and then sort of also crush up in my fingers and let the seeds fall away from them. This is, I think, the third or fourth year I've been planting partially from my own lettuce seeds. This is another lettuce, but it has in it, or entwined with it, a willow herb, this is a small type that we have here. Here's one that's gone to seed more over here. They get little tiny pink flowers, and then the seeds actually look like the much larger fireweed seeds, and they're very closely related to fireweed. So yeah, these are all going to seed, and you can see the little tiny fireweed-like seeds that come out of them. And they do still have some of their little pink flowers on them. My radish, of course, I have some radish going to seed here in different stages of readiness. Some of them have already been ready, the radish seeds. These aren't at all, but they will be. And, well, there are a bunch of other things here, but those are the most gone to seed so far. So let's go see what's in other places in the garden and the wild. Back in my parents' patch of fireweed here, I just wanted to point out how similar it is to the willow herb we were looking at before. Some people call fireweed willow herb, but around here we don't. And you can see it has similar but much larger little pink flowers, and it's getting these seed pods, which will eventually also burst open and create those fluffy fireweed seeds that we know. But the leaves are also amazing. Many people actually have fireweed tea. Apparently it's common in Russia as well as North America. And basically what you do is just harvest the leaves and kind of like wilt them and then ferment them, which is basically like slow drying them slowly enough that they ferment before they dry in the shade. You would never do this in the sun. And then you dry them up, and some people roll them and make them all beautiful, and it's tea. You can cure them also after doing that. I think you can even smoke them, but I've never done that. And yeah, it's a great tea to make. It's not seeds, but As an aside, this is exploration. You never know what you'll find or decide to talk about. Let's go see what else is next. This is a western dock plant, which I had the kids pull out of the garden earlier this year and stick in this pot. And then I also cut the flower stalks off so we'd get more leaves. And we have been eating the leaves of this and a bunch of others all spring. But it's finally going to seed. And since today is about seeds, you can see it has these teeny tiny little red seeds beginning. Western dock, well, all docks are related to buckwheat, so they get these little like multi-sided seeds. Well, what do you even call them? It's like little leaflets around the seed. Each one has 3 sides. So if you've ever had buckwheat groats, like the whole buckwheat, you'll see they also have 3 sides, and so does dock seed. And you can make flour with it. So let me show you a dock plant in the back of my garden, which I will harvest today because it's ready. So this is the ripe or cured on the stalk dock that I have growing wild in the garden. And as you see, the leaves, or rather seeds, are all reddish brown colored now. And I'm getting a whole bowl full of them. And a bit of lettuce seeds I have too. And I'll show you in just a moment how to separate them. Come here, stalk. It's the easiest thing in the world to harvest. And in fact, you actually don't have to separate them. Some people eat the leaf matter that comes off with it. I mean, it's not poisonous or anything. Come here, I don't really want spiders in there. But if you want the higher protein content, you would want only the seeds. So I will show you that in a sec. Whoops. So in order to get the seeds separated, the simplest, most basic way is to put some in your hand and simply scrub them together. And you're basically scrubbing all the little papery parts off of the seeds. It takes a moment, and this is only a handful, and you see I have a huge amount here, but as it goes by, you blow on them once in a while and blow off all that little dust. And eventually, after a moment of doing this, you will end up with seeds in your palm. Now, an easier way to do it, if you have a lot of them, say you want to make flour or something, you can actually make, you know, many of the things you would make with buckwheat flour, you can make with this, like buckwheat pancakes. I'm partly Dutch, so that's a thing. Japanese make soba noodles out of buckwheat flour. There are a lot of things that we actually reasonably commonly eat. And if you are wanting to have that much of it, an easier way is to throw it in a food processor or something like that and just grind it all up together. And then apparently some people actually float the flaky chaff off of them. But I don't. I just kind of roll it around and blow it off, and that works too. And you end up, because the seeds are much heavier, of course, than the papery part, and you end up with something like this. You can see all those tiny little seeds there. And I mean, this isn't a whole lot, but this is from one plant with a few stems. And I would say, what will I get of pure seeds from this? Maybe a couple tablespoonfuls. But if you wanted to collect a whole lot and you were doing it in a food processor, it wouldn't be actually, or it isn't, a whole lot of work to get a couple of cups. And then you can, you know, make your pancakes, pannenkoeken, if you're Dutch, or whatever you'd like. Yeah, so that's that. Your wild buckwheat seeds. And I hope you'll try it because it's fabulous. And like I said before, you totally can leave this powdery chaff on. I think this time what I'm going to do is just remove some of it and leave a bunch of it on because it does make more flour that way, and it's like a little more bang for your effort. But this being a wild plant, it's not bang for your buck because it's free. So the process of removing the powder out of this mess that I've made here by grinding, which is really those sort of winged 3 points of each of the seeds. I've rubbed it all in my hands until the seeds are, I would say, they've lost about half of that chaff, or whatever you call it on this kind of seeds. And now we have to winnow them. That's what this process is. And basically what you do is you drop it through the air, and you can see there is pretty much zero wind right now. So a little bit is escaping the bowl, but I'm just blowing to help it along. And the concept is that the seeds are heavier than the powder we've made by grinding it. And so they will fall while the powder goes away. And you can see the whole sides of the bowl are lined with powder, so I'm just blowing that out. And like I said, I haven't removed everything. This was just a rough rubbing between my hands, which I kind of like to save a bunch of it. But, you know, whew, a lot of powder. I'll be dusty today. You can use a fan for this. I have before. You just kind of set up a fan on the side and do this. It's a little bit, it feels fantastic. So what I'm left with here is a reasonably cleaned bunch of seeds. And, you know, it's clean enough that I'm happy with it. Certainly you could get it much cleaner by using a food processor or something like that, and a fan for winnowing. But this is the basics. I have, I don't know, 4 or 5 tablespoonfuls. It's not a huge amount, but from one plant, not bad. And yeah, it was a rather large plant too. I mean, depends, you may have to find a bunch of smaller plants. But this is what we're left with. I encourage you to go out and see what kinds of other seeds, or, you know, Western dock like this, or perhaps other things you can find in the wild for eating. And on that note, let's stop with the harvesting and just see if we can find some interesting seeds. Let's go. It's evening now because we have been distracted, and we went and picked all these blackberries for some jam and tarts or whatever we make. And yeah, I mean, who can make a video when you're having to pick all these blackberries, right? Blackberries are seeds too, but back to the seeds. I have begun here because there are a bunch of stickweed seeds. Well, I call it stickweed. Other people know them as cleavers. And let me see if I pull this out here. You can see it all sticking to itself. This is your classic cleavers that everybody knows. It comes back stuck to you, hence why I call it stickweed. And the seeds are not actually quite ready, and sometimes they're much bigger than this. It's easier to collect and use them when they're bigger than this, but you can use cleaver seeds actually as, you can toast them and use them as a kind of a coffee or tea substitute. And I believe you can even grind them into flour, but I haven't done that. So, I mean, these are teeny tiny. I think you get more from it if you're collecting the bigger ones. And these are also green. I mean, I would collect them when they're brown and nicely cured on the branches, as I like to do. I even leave my peas at home to dry up on the vines and harvest them that way. It's much easier. The world does all this stuff for us. So anyway, let's go see what other seeds. Oh, right beside us there are some thistles blooming, but behind me, if I get out of the sun, are the thistles gone to seed. Which, I mean, we all know thistle seeds, but so lovely. Oh, more blackberries. I will refrain from picking those. And over here are nettles. Now, you can pick, nettle seeds are super nutritious actually. And you see I'm touching them. I might get stung, but generally speaking at this time of the year, they're not very stingy. And you kind of just roll them off. They're still green right now. Well, these are actually over here. They're brown already. You can pick them when they're brown or green. Generally, I pick them when they're brown, but I understand some people pick them when they're green. They're very, very small. Whoops! I caught a spider here. Come on out. After I get him out, I'll try and show you these seeds. Go, little guy. Oh, and an ant. Oh, okay. So here are some nettle seeds. It's very easy to fill a bowl. Actually, I mean, if you have a patch like this, it's completely full of them. And I prefer to pick them when they're brown, but you can pick them green and then dry and cure them at home. And you can actually see here that they are a little bit nutty. So you can toast them up and use them just in food, like you might use, I don't know what kind of seeds. I want to say dock seeds because we were just collecting those, but you know, so many things. They will give you protein as well as some various nutrients, and I believe people use them medicinally in various ways relating to, especially they're anti-inflammatory, so that's useful. But yeah, some nettle seeds. Oh, and it's maple seed season. I mean, it's just beginning. If you look at the tree here, it's full of the little samaras up there, and there are a bunch on the ground here, so I'm looking for them. But I mean, we all recognize these, right? Helicopters. Break it in half. Oh, that was a start up higher. I can't do it. Help! Let me get a flatter one. Oh, here's a good one. Try them both together. Yeah, so anyway, maple seed season. They leave all these little splinter hairs in your fingers. Let's see what else. Oh, of course there are some kind of little asters all over the place. Looks like a hairy cat's ear maybe. All gone to seed as well. And oh, the wall lettuce. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you may have seen me harvesting wall lettuce. The leaves to eat, which look like this one, sort of. This is a little bit munched, but and they did have flowers, and now the flowers are gone, and they have very few of them have a few of those little fluffy dandelion-like aster seeds. Here's one. Most of them are gone. Already often seeded themselves somewhere. So many more nettle seeds here. What else? I don't know. There's so much. Oh, the grass, of course. The grass is all seedy. Sometimes I like to, when I'm out, as I am now, not at my house, and I'm finding seeds for things I like, I just bring some home and put them in my garden. This is how the wilderness wants to be, dropping its seeds at this time of year. Oh, here are some perfect nettle seeds. See, when they're ready, you don't at all have to dry them. You just put them in and take them home the way they are, perfectly brown and ready to use. I think we'll stop here. I mean, there's so much. Yet another type of grass here. But I don't need to show you everything because I hope you're going out exploring. Oh wow, this is an amazing one. It's like oats almost. The seeds are so big. So I hope you will go out and find your own seeds and see what you find this week. We are switching these videos to be once a week from now on, just so that we can have some time to do all the work in our own garden, harvesting and, you know, all the things that happen in the fall. So happy exploring, and I'll see you next week.